Hello everyone! Today we are looking at the Dior Forever Natural Nude, the newest addition to the Dior Forever foundation line. If you are new here, when we do these wear tests, we look at four primary things. Number one is the consistency of the foundation. Liquid foundation is a spectrum. We look at coverage from sheer to full. Most importantly, we look at wearability. How long can I wear it with it still holding up well and looking beautiful? And then number four, we compare it to other similar foundations in the same price bracket, and I let you guys know which one I would prefer. So let's go ahead and get into this wear test. So here's the foundation up close and personal. And I'm gonna go in first for our consistency test. I'm gonna pump some out on the back of my hand, and we're gonna take a look here. This is about what I expected, given my experience with Dior Forever foundations. Kind of creamy. It's not really running down the back of my hand like more fluidy foundations do. So I'm gonna go in with my typical application method using a fluffy brush. And for those curious, I am in shade 1.5N. This, I truly believe, is my perfect foundation match. Every time I return to a Dior foundation, I just feel like it is the most seamless match to my particular skin. So as I'm getting it on here, you can see it is a medium coverage foundation. So item 2, checking that one off. It's not a super full coverage. It's blending out really nicely for being that kind of thicker, creamy consistency. Sometimes those can take a little bit more work to get on nice and evenly. This is kind of the sweet spot right in the middle. And I decided to set this with the Bare Minerals Mineral Veil Loose Powder. So I went ahead and set that, and now here you can see up close and personal what the foundation looks like without anything else on my face. As I said, medium coverage. There around my jawline, you can kind of see where I have those bluer veins, but notice it doesn't settle anywhere. It kind of blurs my pores pretty nicely. It just looks like it claims to be a nice natural naked skin sort of finish. I did go ahead and add a little bit of blush and highlighter. Highlighter was the other thing I put on my face. This is a blush by the company Phase Zero, a really beautiful peach color, and then a little bit of highlighter as well to carry me throughout the day. I will link those products for you below. And the first timestamp was, this was 8:50 a.m. So we checked back in about 3 hours later, just before noon. You can see I added a little bit of eye makeup and lipstick here as well. Foundation still looks great. With Dior foundations, I have experienced that they can wear really well up to about 10 hours, so I didn't really expect to see much shift at the 3-hour mark. As you can see, it's not really settling. Those mobile parts around my mouth there is what I'm kind of showing you, and there on the chin where we touch ourselves a lot, where I personally lose coverage and get my redness coming through really quickly. I don't have any of that going on here after 3 hours. Going in with an oil blot sheet, I decided to try to do this a little differently for you guys. I'm using 1/2 of the sheet to oil blot my T-zone in particular, so my forehead, my nose, and my chin. And then I'm gonna use the other half of it and do my cheeks so you can kind of see the difference. You guys know I have oily skin, so no surprise here, I did definitely collect some oil from the T-zone. But what you'll see here in a second is there's really not much coming off of my cheeks at this point. Usually at the 3-hour mark when I oil blot for you guys, I do have some oil production going on. That's just me and my skin. But the oil control here on the cheeks between the foundation and the powder doing its job, you can see really not too bad after 3 hours. After another 3 hours here, so we're going on about 6 hours of wear, I had been out and about a little bit, so you're gonna see a little bit of change in the coverage. You can see my sunglasses prints there on my nose. I had just gotten home. So I'm gonna zoom you guys in for a close-up here so you can see how the coverage is doing. What I'm noticing the most here is that the foundation hasn't really moved, shifted. It's not settling, it's not caking. Usually after about 6 hours, especially with oily or oily to combination skin, you're gonna have some of that shifting. None of that is going on here. Maybe a little bit of redness coming through on my chin, but still, the overall coverage here is really holding up quite well, which is awesome for having left the house, especially since we're all wearing masks right now. So I did go in and oil blot again at the 6-hour mark because I definitely was feeling the oil production, even though to my surprise and pleasure, the foundation wasn't really showing it. So here in the T-zone, pretty much the same thing, maybe a little bit worse this time, a little bit more oil production. But where you'll really see the difference here is in my cheeks. So I'm gonna finish blotting this, and this time after 6 hours or after 3 hours since the last oil blot, I really have a lot of oil production going on in my cheeks. This is important because if you have oily skin, it can really break foundation down quickly. But what I'm showing you guys here is that even after 6 hours with how oily my skin was, look at how well the foundation is holding up. The coverage is still there. It hasn't caked, it hasn't gotten blotchy. It still looks really nice. Jumping ahead to 6:30, so that's 3 hours. We've had it on for 9 hours. Full disclosure, I spent the last 2.5 hours or so cleaning my house. So my hair is all gone at this point. And even though I'm looking a little bit oilier, my makeup definitely doesn't look freshly set like it did earlier, it's still holding up pretty nicely. A little bit more oil production going on, but here again, maybe a little bit of caking, a little bit of settling, but I'm being very hypercritical, super picky for you guys. This was the first point where I noticed a little bit of coverage lost on my chin, but for the most part, I'm really looking here. I'm really looking for flaws. I'm really looking to see where it's breaking down and not holding up as well. So despite the fact that I have oily skin and I had been on the move, doing housework, very mobile, running around for the last 3 hours, I was still really pleased with it after 9 hours of wear. So the next time I come back to you guys is just after 8 o'clock, and I came back only an hour and a half later because this was the first point where I felt the turn. And when I felt the turn, I could just feel that the foundation was gonna start wearing off. And when I zoom you guys in here in a second, you'll see what I'm talking about. Because generally, from far away, it still looks pretty nice. But that touch test, that sort of feel on my skin that the foundation is gonna start running off my face, that is when I know that it's really starting to deteriorate. So up close, you can kind of see where I'm starting to lose a little bit of coverage. Overall, it still looks really good. I feel like there's definitely something going on here where even though the foundation looks really good, it doesn't feel as good. And there on my chin, you can definitely see I'm getting a little bit more redness coming through, whereas at the 3 hour and 6 hour mark, that coverage was still really good. There around my nose on the right side, some redness. But here is the thing, when I can touch my face like that and come away with the foundation on my fingertip, I know that we're all done. I know that it's all gonna be downhill from there. But that was after about almost 12 hours of wear, you guys. I don't remember the last time I got to the 12-hour mark with a foundation that I've tested for you guys before I have that touch test kind of going on. And I will reiterate again, with oily skin, that is a huge deal. So wearability on this foundation, definitely in the 10 to 12-hour mark. If you don't have oily skin, probably a little bit longer, which is awesome for you guys. So what are we going to compare this to? I am not going to compare this to other Dior Forever foundations. As they changed that line starting a couple of years ago, they had the Dior Forever Skin Glow and then a matte version, which were polar opposites. You had a very dewy version and a very matte version. This one I feel like kind of falls right in the middle of just being very skin-like. It doesn't seem to be going for any particular effect, not super mattifying, not super radiant and glowy. I recently reviewed another foundation that kind of found this happy medium for you guys. It was by another designer. This is the Guerlain L'Essentiel High Perfection Foundation. I will link that video for you guys up on the screen because this was sort of a revamp of their own glowier version of a foundation. And so I thought it was interesting that I'm seeing a theme here in the fashion houses and their cosmetic products. Both of these foundations are also going to be in the $50 range, so comparable price-wise. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Guerlain might be a little bit more expensive. So when it comes to which one do I like better, which one would I recommend that you buy? My loyalty is with Dior, and the reason for that is the original Dior Forever Skin Foundation, what have you, from like 10 years ago. That was the first high-end foundation that just worked for my skin, no questions. I have been following the Dior Forever foundation line ever since then. And like I said, their 1.5N shade is my skin color. Every other foundation I wear for you guys looks really good. I can get a good color match, but there is just something about the way that this color melts seamlessly into my skin that has me super loyal to Dior. So knowing all of that, the Dior is going to be my favorite between the two, but you really couldn't go wrong with either of them. They are both very good investment foundations. So that is where I'm going to leave you guys. I was so excited about this wear test. I love Dior Cosmetics. So thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate your viewership, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.